Okay, would like to call to order the regular council meeting of January 11th, 2021. Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Present.
Mr. Sensi,
Here.
Mr. Council Magno,
Here.
Ms. Gibbons,
Here.
Mr. Hannon,
Present.
Mr. Harrison,
Present.
Mr. McLean,
Here.
Mr. Mowry,
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Present.
We have all 9 members present. We have no chair announcements this evening. At this time, I would like to turn to the reports of the officials and the library director's report.
Good evening. My name is Christine. I'm the director of your public library, where we provide opportunities to explore, learn, create, and connect. I just have a quick announcement. The library is open once again for in-person services. Our hours of operation are Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. We are currently closed on Sunday. So come on in and you can use a computer. You can, browse the collection, make copies, that kind of stuff. We do ask that you keep your visit to under an hour, just to keep the virus load as low as possible. So we are open. Come on in.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Hearing none, can we turn to the police chief's report and Chief O'Connor?
Chief here, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent, excellent. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond Bethel Park, we've been receiving some inquiries whether there is any, to our knowledge, any unrest or threats of violence locally, but gladly I'm reporting that we have no such knowledge of those types of activities here. But again, we count on the citizenry to be our eyes and ears. So if someone sees something, please say something. And they best by doing that to our tip line on our website, and we will evaluate it and take action or get it to where it needs to be, the appropriate agency. So moving on, I would also like to thank our residents who get donated toys for our drive that we had over the holidays to help some people in need. And I would also give a special thanks to the John McMillan Church and Zion Lutheran for donating gift cards, and we were able to get them out to people in need also. So it was a successful event, and I do thank everyone for that, and God bless. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Chief. At this time, can we turn to the fire chief's report?
Yeah. In the month of December, the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company ran 44 calls. We had 2 gas leaks, 2 carbon monoxide detectors. We assisted the police with a water leak. We had 3 motor vehicle accidents, 1 person stuck in an elevator. The odor of electrical wires burning, we had 4 calls of that. We had 11 good intent calls and 20 fire alarms, totaling 44 total calls. Things were way down this year as far as calls. We had 472 total calls. That's actually down 150 from last year, which is a good thing. And it was very impressive that a lot of it, when COVID first started, we had the lockdown and all, we thought we were going to get an awful lot more calls because people were home. We actually got a lot less. So as I said, we were down 150 calls from last year. But we have noticed November, December, and already in January, people are getting a little more frisky going back out. We've been busy as heck again. So with that, the only other thing I'd like to say is just remember, for anybody who had a live Christmas tree in their house, you just can't take that out back and burn it in a fire pit or anything. That's against county ordinance. They ask you to dispose of that either in your trash or any of the local area places that take the Christmas trees, and then they have one big get rid of them ceremony. So with that, that is all I have for the evening.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Hearing none, to follow up on Chief O'Connor's report, there's two ways. If you see any suspicious activity or something that doesn't look right, you can call our traditional police line at 412-833-2000. Or if you feel uncomfortable and don't want to give your name, you can call our anonymous tip line. It's 412-851-BPPD or 2773. That's 412-851-2773. That's not monitored 24/7, but it is checked a few times per day. So if it's an emergency, call the 412-833-2000, or if you want to leave something, you can call the anonymous tip line at 412-851-2773. At this time, I would like to turn to the manager's report. Mr. Christian? Since he didn't unmute himself,
Mr. Mauer, I have nothing to report.
thank you very much, Mr. Christian. At this time, I'd like to go to the mayor's report, and Mayor Allen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maury. I always look forward to the meeting in January because we get to announce the holiday lighting contest. Now, it's a little bit different this year because we do have the winners from each ward, but we don't have the people coming to talk about how they did it and what family members may have contributed. And we are sending the certificates. In fact, they've already gone out in the mail, so they'll be getting those. So I just wanted to let you know who the winners are. In Ward 1, Dennis and Beth Arsh, and they're at 5573 Farah Drive. Ward 2, James and Beverly Fusco, that's 106 Michelle Court. Ward 3, Donna and Kara Snyder, 3566 South Park Road. Ward 4, David and Carol Lutzy, 6650 Chapel Drive. Ward 5 is Terry and Beth Smith at 3524 Valley Drive. Ward 6, Jeffrey and Lisa Schmeigel, 1108 McKnight Drive. And I'll tell you what, every time I go down Logan Road, that house is amazing. Ward 7, Thomas and Christy Dawson, 3008 Oakhurst Road. Ward 8, Robert and Gail Relicki, 5173 Orchard Avenue. And Ward 9, William and Tony Deedhorn at 121 Amber Court. And I'd really like to thank the judges and especially the judges, but also the residents, because we do rely on the residents to call in to Janet and let us know what houses they think. So the program's been going on for many years, and hopefully next year we'll be able to do it in council chambers, and the winners will be present. The second thing I wanted to mention was the COVID-19 vaccines. We're going to try to post a website that has the breakdown of who and when they may be available. They are, the vaccines are giving in phase 1A, 1B, 1C, and phase 2. And by the looks of the report that we have, 1A should just be close to finishing up, and then they'll start in 1B. So there is a website. We will post it because it's long and involved. But I will say that I got an email today from AHN, and they're on top of it. They're telling you when, or possibly when, the vaccines may be available for you. They're different patients, and they will get back to you when they are available. So I'm sure that UPMC and everyone else is on top of it, but keep an eye out for when it may be possible to get your vaccine. And the last thing I wanted to mention is I also do a program on BPTV called Jack of All Trades. We do a lot of different subjects, from the 100th anniversary of Coverdale and so on. This week, we're going to be doing a program on Pittsburgh's own Skyliners. We have one of the Skyliners living in Bethel Park. So just keep an eye out on that one, and that should be very interesting. And that's all I have, Mr. Myrie.
Thank you very much, Mayor Allen. At this time, I would like to turn to the approval of the minutes and Mr. Hannan.
I move that we approve the minutes from the December 14th, 2020 regular council meeting.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Hannan and second by Ms. Gibbons that we approve the minutes from the December 14th, 2020 regular council meeting. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the approval of the bills and payrolls and Mr. Hannan.
I move that we approve bill list number 011121 in the amount of $2,307,151.91.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Hannan and second by Ms. Gibbons that we approve the bill list number 011121 in the amount of $2,307,151.91. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Before we move into the agenda, I would be remiss in not mentioning Dr. Campbell tonight is in his fatigues. And he, as you know, he is on the Disaster Medical Assistant, the DMAT team, and he's currently deployed. And I don't know if he wanted to share any light or had any words of wisdom for us back in Bethel Park.
I sure do. Thank you, Mr. Mowry. You know, the acute COVID numbers are quite high across the country and locally, and predictably so. It was expected, especially after the holidays that we saw. As Mr. Mowry mentioned, I'm away on a COVID deployment in support of the pandemic, and I still come across a lot of folks who don't think the pandemic is real, who think this is fabricated. But if you've seen what I've seen, the human costs are significant and tragic. It's no short than tragic. I would like to make a couple comments that, as far as we are into this pandemic now, about a year, you know, folks tend to get a little bit of battle fatigue. They get tired. They get tired of doing all the things that we're encouraged to do. You know, this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. And you know, as far as the guidelines with social distancing, hand hygiene, masking in public, there's still very, very great public health tools in our toolbox that really, really work. The vaccine is now, we're hearing it, Mayor talked about it a little bit ago. We're seeing that it's unfolding, and the work, the information that supports it is tremendous. I had my vaccine this past week as well, but you know, if you're eligible as a physician, as a citizen, I'd strongly, strongly recommend you get it, unless there's an avid contraindication, and those are very far and few between. Thank you, Mr. Mowry.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell, and we appreciate your help and support. with the speaker series and trying to educate people on what's going on with COVID, some of the background. I sat through the one, had the opportunity to watch it in the December speaker series. I thought it was very interesting to give you a little background, a different perspective on what we're doing and how it's being treated. So thank you.
If you haven't had the opportunity for any of our citizens to watch that video, Dr. Frank Gaudio, he's actually on my DMAT team, and knowledge breadth that he carries with him is quite deep. So if you have the opportunity, the information he presented last month was 100% spot on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Mr. Christian, are there any resident comments from non-agenda items?
Mr. Mowry, there are no resident comments from non-agenda items.
Thank you very much, Mr. Christian. At this time, I'd like to turn to general policy and finance and Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. We have one agenda item under general policy and finance. It is resolution 1-11-21, ICMA plan coordination designation. I move that we approve resolution 1-11-21, appointing the finance director as the plan coordinator of the ICMA-RC 457 plan.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McLean and second by Ms. Gibbons that we approve resolution 1-11-21, appointing the finance director as the plan coordinator of the ICMA-RC 457 plan. Is there any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannon,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. McLean.
President, there are no additional agenda items. I do, however, have one other item.
Mr. McLean.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a minute and tell folks that my term as the councilman from the 7th Ward will be up at the end of this calendar year, at the end of 2021. And I wanted to let folks know that I have made the decision that I will not be seeking re-election for the council position in the 7th Ward at the end of the term. And I wanted to just let folks know that and say a few things. One, there is absolutely nothing negative at all about this decision. I have enjoyed very much my time on council, and I still enjoy it now. It's just that at the end of this year, I will have been on council for 11 years. Prior to that, I was on the Planning Commission for nearly 25 years. And I think I've just reached the point in my professional and family life where it's time for me to move on. I want to tell people that my decision, though, is made much, much easier because I believe the council is in very good hands and will remain in. And, you know, my view is that the public is best served if council has a mix of experienced contributing members, as well as newer members who bring a fresh perspective. And I include among those the 3 newest members that we've added to council in the last few years. So it's with an optimistic tone that I make this decision. But I think it's time for me to move on and to allow someone new a chance to take this position. So I thought it was important to let people know because residents in the 7th Ward will need to consider if they want to get involved and run for the position. To do that, they'll have to be on the primary. To do that, they'll have to get signatures in February. And if they are interested, I encourage them to look into the process and reach out. And I'm still around. I'm not going anywhere for a little while, and I'll be here to help as much as I can. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. You will be missed, and we have 11 more chances to roast you.
Appreciate that.
But we do appreciate your time and everything.
Forewarned is forearmed. I understand.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to health, safety, and welfare and Mr. O'Brien?
Mr. Chairman, there are no items under health, safety, and welfare.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to planning and zoning and Ms. Gibbons?
Bethel Pines partial security reduction number 5. I move that we approve the Bethel Pines partial security reduction number 5 as recommended by staff and engineering.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Gibbons, seconded by Mr. Hannan, that we approve the Bethel Pines partial security reduction number 5 as recommended by staff and engineering. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Ms. Gibbons.
Guardian Storage, 2061 Milford Drive, final security release number 10. I move that we approve the Guardian Storage to 2061 Milford Drive, final and full security reduction number 10 as recommended by staff and engineering.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Gibbons, second by Mr. Hannan, that we approve the Guardian Storage 2061 Milford Drive final and full security reduction number 10 as recommended by staff and engineering. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Sir, Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Ms. Gibbons.
Guardian Storage, Route 88, 1607 Milford, final and full, excuse me, final and full security release number 10. I move that we approve the Guardian Storage, Route 88, 1607 Milford, final and full security reduction number 10 as recommended by staff and engineering.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Gibbons, second by Mr. Hannan, that we approve the Guardian Storage Route 88, 1607 Milford, final and full security reduction number 10 as recommended by staff and engineering. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Ms. Gibbons.
There are no additional agenda items, but I do have one item.
Ms. Gibbons.
I have also made the decision to not run for re-election this year. I wanted to, again, give anyone the chance in Ward 9 who's interested in serving on council to give you a chance to serve. I have been on council 20 years. I was on planning commission before that, so I really think it's somebody else's turn. And I also want to encourage any women out there because, as you can see, I'm the only one here, so we really need more for a variety of reasons. But yes, and if you have any questions, my phone number's on the webpage, my email's on the webpage. Please feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns. I must say, when I started this, I didn't realize how interesting a path I had chosen to follow, and I encourage anyone who's interested in Ward 9 to make the decision to run. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbons. And as with Mr. McLean, we have 11 more months to roast you.
You're No.
No, it certainly will be much different this time next year, but we appreciate the service by both yourself and Mr. McLean. We have a unique group. You have to work with Mark O'Brien, so
Yeah, it's a downside for everything.
I will have my day.
can we please mute Mr. O'Brien? Thank you very much, Ms. Gibbons. Are there any additional items?
No.
Okay, hearing none, can we turn to Public Works in Maintenance and Mr. Consul Magno?
Well, President Maury, we have 4 items under Public Works and Maintenance. The first 2 items are replacement vehicles. The last 2 items are additions to our current equipment and will help in the reduction of rental expenses and also provide our staff with better means of handling the parks in the community. So the first, I move that we approve the purchase of a mini track skid steer for $29,170 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Consul Magno. Second by Ms. Gibbons that we approve the purchase of a mini track skid steer for $29,170 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
yes,
Mr. Consul Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannon,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Consul Magno.
The second item, I move that we approve the purchase of an 8-ton dump truck for $184,575 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Consul Magno and second by Ms. Gibbons that we approve the purchase of an 8-ton dump truck for $184,575 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Sir, Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
yes,
Mr. Consul Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannon,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Consul Magno.
Third item, I move that we approve the purchase of a Case 80 backhoe for the amount of $110,894 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Consul Magno and second by Ms. Gibbons that we approve the purchase of a Case 580 backhoe for the amount of $110,894 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
yes,
Mr. Consul Magno,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannon,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. McLean, Mr. McLean,
I think he stepped out.
it's on the telephone.
Mr.
Yeah.
Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. And Mr. Consul Magno, how much money are you going to spend tonight?
Oh, let's not get carried away here. I move that we approve the purchase of a Kubota SV 175 rubber track skid steer for the amount of $54,853 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Consul Magno and second by Ms. Gibbons that we approve the purchase of a Kubota SV 175 rubber track skid steer in the amount of $54,853 per the Public Works Director's memorandum dated January 7th, 2021. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Consul Magnum,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Hannon,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
I can't see right now. Is Mr. Harris or is Mr. McLean still on the phone?
Yes, he's not on it yet. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Mowry
Yes.
and Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Mr. Consul Magno.
That is it for the Public Works and Maintenance.
Are there any additional items?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes,
Harrison,
an additional item.
if we go to Mr. Harrison first. Mr. Harrison,
Everybody, a lot of people spoke to their plans for this election year. I'll tell the people that I am running for re-election. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Consul Magno.
Well, Mr. Murray, since you beat me up about the expenditures in the Public Works and Maintenance, I had the time to put together a little items for the community and also I had to write it down because I wanted to make sure I recognized all the individuals responsible. So if you allow me the time, I'm happy to announce with the help of State Representative Natalie Mihalik, Bethel Park was awarded $750,000 grant to upgrade the facilities at the community center on Park Avenue. The grant was awarded by the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program with the state of Pennsylvania. We were also awarded a $200,000 grant a few months ago with the help of State Senator Pam Iovino and State Representative Natalie Mihalik for this project. While the plans are very preliminary, the funds will be used to add a splash pad for the children at the site of the current T-ball field, along with bathrooms and a new playground. We're also hoping to add new bleachers to the Park Avenue field and some other amenities to the site. As I mentioned, the plans are very preliminary. We will now begin a master plan for the site and develop a cost estimate to see what we will be able to complete. This will take some time and hope to begin the project in early 2022. We will keep everybody posted during the planning process. All the recreation improvements came from a parks study that the municipality completed a few years ago. I'm also very happy to report that the plans for moving the T-ball field from Park Avenue to Millennium Park are also moving forward. We had hoped to complete this project in 2020, but COVID-19 has delayed the process. We'll be going out to bid this week for a major renovations project at Millennium Park. Since moving the field sports from Millennium Park to the newly turfed field at Village Green Park, we will be installing a new T-ball field on the large grass field at Millennium Park. This will include a turf infield with a grass outfield, along with backstops and field amenities. We'll also be renovating the bathroom buildings and adding a concession stand. We will be replacing the playground equipment, and if bids come in as we hope, we will be adding additional walking path around the field, similar to what was done at Village Green Park. This will be a lot going on at the two parks. It may be a little inconvenience for everybody, but in the end, we were planning a lot of improvements over the next few years. And I hope that helps in absorbing some of the expenditures that we made for our great Public Works department. So that's all I have, Mr. Murray. Thank you. And I also will be running next year or this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Consul Magno. Are any other additional items? We always appreciate good news. Just quit spending so much money. Okay, is there any other discussion or comments?
Move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Hannon,
Second.
Second by Dr. Campbell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good night, everybody.